All right, so welcome. It is Monday morning, the 6th of May, 2024. And let's just take a look at the markets and some of the stocks out there and try to come up with some ideas that we can put on. So if we take a look really quickly here, and we're going to focus again on the weekly charts for most core setups, and then we'll look at the dailies for potentially some active trading and some spec trade stuff. Overall, ES still remains in a decent uptrend overall on the weekly. A nice pullback to the 21 EMA and a pretty easy bounce right off of that here on the weekly. So nice move up, nice move back, and continuing its leg higher. So finally somewhat of a decent pullback to the 21 and a move higher. So that'll give us some opportunities, I think, to keep looking to get long potentially. This is a bit of a bear flag. I'm sorry, a bull flag here on the weekly that we broke out of. So again, this is all pretty bullish, even though the weekly trend for the last couple of weeks is down, but the overall trend is up. The 21's above the 50s, above the 200, even with MACD falling, squeeze momentum falling. We're still in an overall uptrend and a decent bounce off the 21. If we get a little bit more granular and we look at if we look at the daily chart here, this has been in a bit of a bearish trend overall, but you can see that even within this bearish trend, we've got a nice little move higher in this particular channel. So you could consider this part here a bit of a bear flag. So you got maybe a little bit of a bull flag here on the weekly. If you want to draw something along these lines, a little bit of a potentially a bull flag here on the weekly, and then on the daily you've got a bit of a bear flag. So it's and some bullish trends. So you've got everything kind of bearish in technicals here and bullish technicals here. I think that sets up really well potentially for strangle trades in ES when you really can't figure out which direction you want to go. We're not far from the 21. RSI is a bit high for me. I would like to see it between 40 and 60 for a strangle, but we're really, really close here on the weekly. And then we're pretty dead center here on the daily. So I think you could look at 112 trades, and I think you could look at strangle trades. So we're going to put both of those down. Strangle trades, 112 trades. And if you're, we're still running leaps, those are in good shape. Nothing to do on the leap piece here. And we had on Friday, we had one of our 120-day trades stop out, or not stop out, hit profit and come off. So let me just double check. And then we had another trade come off today. So we've got a bunch of stuff happening. But after the bell on Friday, just after the bell, we had a 120-day trade come off. And then today we had a strangle come off in bonds just a few minutes ago. So 2 winning trades, and we really haven't even gotten out of bed yet for the week. But overall, I think this looks pretty constructive. Let's see if this, see if we can move higher and continue to plow ahead. And at least it looks that way on the short term. The longer term, definitely some weakness here. And I would not be surprised that if we can't really break above this 5,200 or break out of this this channel here, if we come back down here to test around 5,100 or so, if we break below, then I think this bear flag. So right now you've got a lot of neutral, and you're going to see that in a lot of stocks out there. If we look at oil here, oil has been in an overall uptrend overall on the weekly, but the most recent trend here is bearish. As we move down, you can see that here a little bit easier on the daily channel. We'll extend this top of this line down. You can see it's a pretty nice little channel here that we've moved down, and now we're right at support on not only the weekly, but right here on the daily chart here, you can see that this has been a support level here around I don't know, 78, 79 area here. that maybe we'll hold that and move higher. Overall, you've got a bit of a triangle pattern forming, bearish technicals on the weekly. You know, you have bearish PSAR, MACD, RSI, squeeze, all downward falling momentum here as we're heading down. And then over here on the daily, you're getting a bit overdone. You see MACD maybe potentially trying to reverse. Here you've got oversold on the RSI and squeeze fired. So we're 3 bars into a squeeze firing. But I think, I think this is something to keep an eye on. But you are below the 21 to 50 and the 200. So doesn't look ultra positive, but I'm not super bearish on here. And one of the things I also take a look at, which you can't see it on here. If we look at the VWAP from essentially the April high back in here on the weekly, that VWAP is up around 83. So we're still quite a bit below that to trigger anything super bullish. And right now we're just going to treat this as a neutral trade. I think strangles are not bad, although I don't like really I would like to see a little bit of a price improvement on the daily to jump in on strangles here. So there's at least a little bit of a heads up. Again, just like S&P, there's not really a defined trend that you see. The weekly still holding its uptrend a bit, but weakening, and the daily is a bit bearish still, and then trying to hold. So if we can hold this uptrend line and get that bounce, I think things will be much better. But right now, I am not into a strangle. It doesn't really fit my protocol here because of the daily. We'll see if we can get back up closer to the 21 EMA than strangles. I mean, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it or can't do it, but right now, until we can get a little bit of a recovery here, probably oil's one thing I'm just going to leave what I have running. A 1-1-2 trade here would be okay due to the uptrend, overall uptrend here on the weekly. And I think if you I'm really not afraid of naked puts down here either. So I think you could go naked puts if you get far enough away down in the 67s. If you're doing a 1-1-2 trade on this around 72 days on oil right now would be the 1-1-2 trade. You'd be looking somewhere in the neighborhood of the 62 for your which is well below this previous pivot low here. And so we'd have to drop pretty substantially. So I don't really mind naked puts here. This might be actually a trade for me. If we hold this trend line here, I do like it. I can think we hold in here. So I would not be opposed to a strangle. I think a 1-1-2 though, or naked puts are not the worst trade here on oil. That's what I would be potentially looking at for oil. All right, if we looked at bonds, bonds have continued to be in this downtrend channel on the weekly. So just channeling down, bottom of channel, top of channel, bottom of channel. Maybe we're heading back to the top of the channel. Then we'll see if we can actually break through or get going. But you can see that MACD, RSI showing a little signs of improvement here on the weekly. Okay, so overall weekly, not too bad, and a nice move forward. And then we've been in this, as Don Kaufman would say, this volatility box. We've been in this box for 3 weeks now. Finally broke out on Friday, and then today moving a little higher on bonds. So overall, I like this move on bonds. You could see that it was really coming our way, even though we were in this sideways trend. MACD was improving, RSI has been improving, squeeze momentum's improving. You're now in a 3-bar squeeze technically on this. So I do like where we are on bonds overall. And if I look at the, let's see if we can, I can't really share all these charts at once, but even the VWAP coming off of the low here back on the 25th, that VWAP's around 114, which I think will provide some support as well. So the volume weighted price around 114. I like where we are, moving above the 21. We've triggered a bullish PSAR signal, so I'm still pretty bullish on ZB. I've been bullish, even though the trend has been down. You know that I've been bullish on ZB for quite some time. It's been one of the heaviest positions we're in. We are right in the center here. We are good for a strangle on ZB. Okay, so we're not far from the 21s on both the weekly and the daily. You got the RSI between the 40s and the 60s on both. So I think strangle here is a nice setup. I think a 112 here is a nice setup. I think the 120-day naked puts is a good setup. I think put credit spreads is a good setup down anywhere below this 112. So I think there's a lot of trades on bonds. I'm still really into bonds as being one of the best trade opportunities out there. And we're going to get into some specifics on the trades. But the first thing, yeah, I can't really show everything here. I'd be bopping back and forth. You know what? I'll tell you. Here's what we'll do. All right, I'm going to switch my screen share just a tad so you can see. If you can see this a bit, give me 1 second. We'll switch it so that you can see a little bit more of what I'm saying as we move through. Okay, let me share the entire screen. Okay, so hopefully you can see the screen that I'm sharing right now. I just want to make sure I got the right screen shared, but yeah, looks like you're right. All right, so I know there's 2 charts on here. Let's just take a quick look. So here is I can see it better on TradingView. It's easier for me to pop a VWAP on there, so I can put the VWAP at this pivot low, and you can see we're up here right around 114. If you also, we can attach it probably to the upside up here, right where where the fractal comes in. I don't know if this is too far out, maybe, but you can see where the VWAP is as we pull down from this particular high back in here. This particular high, the VWAP is exactly where we are today, right at 115. So we are hitting right into that VWAP. Both of the, if we break through it, which we've had a tough time getting through that VWAP now for 2 sessions in a row. So either way, I still like it. We're still in a downtrend, so I wouldn't get too off kilter on it here, but I do like bonds, strangles, 112s, 120-day trades. I think those are all good. All right, let's take a quick look at gold. Gold's been in a nice uptrend for quite some time, even though it's got a little pullback going. We are still way far off of this 21 EMA. So you'd have to come way down here for me to even consider this thing to be in much of a bearish mode. Okay, just a couple weeks of pullback off of this massive run is not enough. So we're very bullish here on the weekly trend. Okay. But you've got some weakening here. You were overbought. MACD has been rolling over. Squeeze is just kind of just hanging in there a bit. And nice little pullback. You're way above the 3 ATR. Oversold. I'm sorry, overbought. Okay. And then came back inside of it. And now that we're back inside the 3 ATR, we can resume or continue, trend. It's nice to see over here on the daily, again, a little bit of this volatility box. MACD, slight improvement. RSI, slight improvement. And then the squeeze has been to the downside here, but you're just trading sideways. I think it's just really good consolidation right along the 21 EMA. So I think that that lends itself nicely to pretty much anything you want to do. I don't want to do any strangles here. RSI still way above the 60, 67 here, even though on the daily here. So I'm not going to strangle. I'm still not going to sell any calls on this thing at all. I would strongly consider a 112 trade on gold, which does not set up well. I would also consider selling naked puts on gold. You're stacked 200, 50, 21. You've just held this 21 in a nice consolidation pullback, which we needed. And then now you've got some bullish action going today. I think if we break out of this box to the upside, you can see this box is also going to coincide right with the PSAR signal. So you're almost probably a day away from potentially a bullish PSAR trigger. I like gold here. I think 112s and potentially some kind of a naked put in here as well would not be the worst. I think you could also do something on gold with a put credit spread in here. So there you go on gold. Copper, I don't like anything on copper, so I'm not trading copper here at all. Broke out of this channel with a very mild pullback, still way above the 3 ATR, but that 3 ATR is heading up strongly. You're stacked, you're moving higher. I wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole, so I'm not trading copper here. You can't strangle it. You're way overbought, but you can stay overbought for a long period of time. The daily is heading back up higher on the RSI. Wouldn't fuss with it at all. I think this thing could rip and set new highs on copper. If you wanted to do something in here with maybe a put credit spread, define your risk in case it does pull back more, or naked put, I just don't know that I would do a 112, although that's not the worst trade in the world after a decent little pullback. I'd like to have seen something back to the 21, but it's definitely in a bearish mode. NASDAQ, nothing different on the NASDAQ here than the S&P. But you can see on this downtrend line that we've been really hugging in here. You are in a bit of a bearish trend. You're right back to it today on a move higher. On the daily, everything's stacked and moving higher on the internals. On the weekly, getting a little bit of a reversal here on the MACD and the RSI. I wouldn't do anything different here than I'm doing on ES, which would be 112s and strangles on NQ. And NQ sets up great for 112 trades in here. RTY, looking at the Russell, just quickly on the Russell as I move through. On the weekly, nice pullback right to the 200 and the 50, and a nice clean bounce right off of that here. So a nice bounce back above the 21 and moving higher. And I think any weakness in NASDAQ, you can see more rotation into the Russell. It's back above its channel here as well, which does provide some resistance. Now it should provide some potential support. You get the 21 about to break through the 50 on this move here. Everything is bullish, and you had a couple days of squeeze here. So this could be firing for a nice move to the upside. It is still something that you could do a strangle on, but you're getting close, in my opinion, to getting too volatile to the upside for a strangle. I would probably just stick with 112 trades or something in a naked put or put credit spread. But it looks bullish in here. So again, another bullish looking chart. We're looking at the Aussie dollar here. Let's get this thing off the screen. All right, on the Aussie dollar, we've broken through this downtrend line. Nice to see that. Here you've got MACD, RSI, squeeze, all moving higher on the weekly. Bullish PSAR to the upside. Strong move up on the upside here on the daily. Nothing to do in here right now for me. It's not something I can strangle. We're getting a little too far from the 21, and now we're above 60s and heading higher on the RSI and the daily. You could probably still strangle it, but you're getting to the end of that rope on it. I've got two strangles working in here now. They're both doing okay. I'm not going to do anything on Aussie dollar. However, let's take a look at the euro, which is a little bit of a different story, and to me, a better setup right in here. So on the euro, okay, you've got this decent little downtrend that you're in, okay, but you're also in a bit of a symmetrical triangle going on here on the weekly. MACD has been reversing higher, just like the Aussie dollar. Reversal on squeeze. MACD is heading higher. RSI is heading higher, and we're close to potentially flipping to a bullish PSAR. However, you are sitting right on the 21. RSI is dead on the 50 here. And then over here on the daily, we're just off the 21 that we finally broke through on this. And you could even have looked at this as a potential. I'm going to draw it out there. You know, I love these triangles. So there's a couple of them here, but this is an ascending triangle down here that we hit. Okay, it was originally support, then it became resistance, and then resistance again. And then we finally broke through it today. So good bullish move through this ascending triangle here. Will this provide some support if we come back down? Yeah. But I do like where we are. We're still in an area where I think a strangle on 6E would be something I'm looking at. So that one I'm writing down because I think that's my next potential strangle. I don't like 6A as much. It's too much. It's a little bit more bullish. I do like the euro here. So I think euro is pretty good. All right. Let's see if there's anything else. Not really. Let's touch base on just a few more pieces in here. So we did put a trade on live cattle last week. Why? Because we have this decent uptrend that we moved higher, pulled back, bouncing off of that, holding this uptrend. So you can see MACD starting to reverse. Squeeze is running out of momentum here, so it's kind of conflicted. Not sure what it wants to be here on the weekly. You could even consider this a bit of a wedge pattern that it's getting coiled up pretty tightly here. You can see that on the daily chart. You can see the squeeze is now a 4. Actually, you count these whites as well. So this is really a 7-bar squeeze, which with some upside, potentially some upside movement, and RSI is just flat. MACD is pretty much flat. This thing, I think, lends itself to a decent strangle in here. But I also think a 1-1-2 trade doesn't look too bad in here, and that's what we have on. So if we hold this uptrend line and we can get hold above this 21, which we're struggling with today, I think a strangle or a 1-1-2 trade, not bad in here. All right, so there's some of the futures. There's where we are. If you're looking for some potential other trade opportunities, if you are a believer in the Russell, you might also be a believer potentially in not only financials, but some of the regional banks. And the regional banks here have broken out of this downtrend line. So we'll bring this over here. So we've broken to the upside here. Really nice, strong momentum on the daily. So regional banks looking good daily, looking pretty good on the weekly here, reversing and in a squeeze. On the squeeze, MACD is improving. RSI is starting to improve. So overall, fairly bullish looking here on the regionals. And then if we look at financials overall, which are also up, nice little pullback, not quite to the 221 EMA. Let's get rid of some of this other junk that's on here. Okay, so financials in a nice, pretty strong uptrend. Didn't quite come back here, but this is a nice reversal candle that we have on here. So nice hammer candle on the weekly here, and then a follow through the following week. So I think this looks decent to the upside. All your MAs are stacked, even though you're running out of momentum here. You're no longer overbought, so I think it gives you another chance to get higher in here. And if we move over here on the financials on the daily chart, definite improvement on the squeeze, the RSI. You're breaking you're seeing a crossover here on the MACD, so crossing the zero lines here and breaking back above the 21, which still remains above the 50 in a bullish PSAR mode. So nice consolidation here, but I think this thing's getting pretty tight. Okay. If we really look at this symmetrical triangle on here, a little bit of a breakout today potentially happening. So again, both of the financials and the regionals are giving me an opportunity to look at the Russell strongly, as these two will help the Russell move. So looking at financials looks pretty good. Obviously, We're also breaking this downtrend line on the semiconductors. We're going to take a look at some semiconductor stocks here in just a minute. So breaking through the downtrend channel, and MACD, RSI, all moving higher on semis. All right, so let's get into a couple stock plays and see what's out there. We take a look at Apple. Huge move up off of the earnings. I think totally unwarranted here, but I do like Apple longer term. I think if Apple really dedicates itself and all of its research into the AI, Apple can certainly be dominant. And if you've really got AI integrated with, the second most popular phone in the world here next to Samsung. But if if they really get AI going and get that going on the mobile, I think this is a good opportunity. This was a beautiful opportunity way back here, bouncing off of this mark. We had really good opportunities on Apple to get long. And if you didn't get long on Apple, this would not be the exact right time. Let's see if we consolidate or even pull back to fill this gap. We now have a gap fill on here. And so we'll look to see what happens on this particular gap. Actually, really should move up to here. So we're on our way to potentially filling that gap. So anyway, overall, I think you got an opportunity in here on Apple on any kind of a pullback, watching the underlyings improve. If we're looking at the weekly, definite MACD, RSI, squeeze, all improving. I'm not going to fault you for wanting to go long or do something on Apple here. I'd like to see what happens with this gap a little bit more. All right, Microsoft here. If we take a look at Microsoft, breaking the downtrend line that we've had, MACD, RSI, squeeze, all rising, breaking through this line, bullish PSR signal, and now you're breaking the 21 and trying to get through the 50, which you're struggling with a little bit today. Just good consolidation down here overall for Microsoft, and you could really even put a bit of a support line back to this low, pull it across in a pretty even fashion here. See if we can do that. It's harder to do. Okay. So you've got some support here that's held up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It broke it one day and couldn't get above it, and then came back on it, closed on it, and then higher. So this has been a pretty good support and a little bit of a resistance line. So I would now hold this as a pretty good support area. I would not be opposed to Microsoft, some kind of a put credit spread or something down in here. I don't want to cover every stock, so we're going to go quickly through these. Amazon, still have a pretty good gap down here to fill. We've got another gap in here to fill. There's all kinds of gaps on it, but overall, weekly looks pretty good. Gapped up last week, pulling back today on Amazon, but overall, a bit bearish on the weekly charts here. Bearish PSR, MACD's falling, RSI's falling off of overbought level, squeeze is falling. Don't necessarily love Amazon as a trade here for anything. I'm certainly not going to sell calls against anything right now because the market still looks like it could keep pushing higher, at least through the next week or two of May. But I don't think I want to trade anything on Amazon. Meta, however, okay, pretty interesting opportunity here. We did not fill the gap that we had previously made back here. Very thin structure. So there's very thin volume where it's trading, though it's trying to pick that volume up. Gap down right after earnings, been consolidating a bit and then starting to move its way higher. You're starting to get some momentum moving to the upside on the daily, but not the weekly. Weekly still fairly bearish. But I think there's some opportunities here on Meta, potentially in here too. As we're strengthening in here and consolidating, I think we're starting to build a bit of a base. I think a credit spread on Meta is an opportunity. So I think a put credit spread on Meta would be an opportunity here. That'll be one of the trades we're going to take a look at. Google, huge gap up here after the earnings. Was it warranted? I'm really not sure about that, but there is a big gap here, and we're just trading inside this gap, pretty much blasé. There's nothing, the weekly doesn't look great. The daily doesn't look overall great. It's just consolidating sideways, which is not the worst thing. I just don't know that there is a trade in Google to be had here. I would have liked to have seen this come back closer to the 21 so that we could potentially see it bounce. It could still happen, but I don't like any trades in here. Nvidia. All right, a couple things in Nvidia here. So we had the descending triangle that we started to break down here and then popped right back above it. So this particular line may act as a bit of support for the stock. So we're looking at some support here. It's been support, 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 resistance, resistance, support, okay, support, support, okay, and now bouncing off of that. So I think Nvidia looks good. Now we've got earnings coming up on Nvidia, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad trade opportunity to get into. And earnings are on what, the 22nd, I believe. So we've got a ways to go till earnings. I think a good bullish trade setup is in the works here. I think there's a lot of different opportunities. I think you could put on a butterfly trade and target this 3 ATR band up here. I think we could put in a put credit spread down in here. I think I saw today Christoph in member trades also put something on. So Christoph, where are you at? Member trades, let's see. I know he had something in here. So Christoph putting on a put at the 800 level, so selling a naked 800 put. So I don't think that's a bad trade either. I mean, you're below at 800. I think it's a nice round number one. You're above the 50. I'm sorry, the 50 is above you, the support line's above you. So I think it's a good opportunity. But if selling a naked put is a little too much for you, you could certainly do a ratio spread or a put credit spread. So I like a put credit spread, ratio spread, potentially even a butterfly. Butterfly is going to be low risk, high reward trade, not going to cost you much. And if you hit it right to the upside, could be in good shape. So I do like Nvidia here for a long trade. So we'll probably look at something in Nvidia. Tesla, right? Tesla here bouncing off the 50 on the daily, trying to hold the 21, but you've got the 21 with the 50 below it and the 21 below that, or the 200, then the 50, then 21. Everything's stacked to the downside. But your momentum has certainly swung on Tesla after hitting this low off the 3 ATR here. And now you've got a bullish PSAR moving in here on Tesla. It's just meandering its way sideways to slightly higher. I don't know that this thing looks fantastic for any particular short-term trades. In here, you are starting to pick up momentum to the upside if the market continues to move higher. I think Tesla is not a terrible trade. You might be able to look at something up to this 3 ATR before it fails again. I think you could also potentially sell some put credit spreads down here. What I would be more willing to want to do on Tesla would be to put something a little bit longer term on Tesla, because I still think long term it's a good stock, and I think you're getting at the 140. It's already moved up 40 points, 45 points from here. This was the opportunity, I think, to get in. I still think on this pullback in here that we're getting, you could sell something a little bit longer term, some naked puts, leaps, something like that on Tesla. And then I also want to take a look at Netflix here, which I think is interesting. After earnings, okay, big gap down the next day. We've got gaps all over the place. So got really thin structure down in here that we never came down to really test. Okay. Then we created this gap here. We're starting to fill this gap. Okay, let's move our Let's move this gap. So a gap fill all the way up to maybe 606 is what we could be looking at. Potential reversal here on the PSAR, bouncing off. Here we're just struggling, but we're hanging right at the 21 and the 50 with upside momentum. I think Netflix is also an opportunity here, I think, for a put credit spread right around this 540-ish level, right below this potential support. So we'll take a look at that as well. All right, let's pick one or two more, and then we'll be done. Drop my pen here. So let's take a look at one or two more potential stocks. So Costco is one of my all-time favorite stocks, one of the best stocks, in my opinion, to trade. And with the economy just in all kinds of turmoil here, I think Costco continues to do well as pricing pressures at the store are really starting to crack consumers. You're starting to see a bit of a problem with like the McDonald's and the Chipotle's and some of the Cava and some of the other ones. You're starting to see retailers crack because the prices, I mean, so much for the dollar menu at McDonald's. Now it's like the $5 menu. So like it's just a cheeseburger. It's like $4 or $5 now at McDonald's. It used to be $1 for a double cheeseburger or a McChicken, and now I think you're at $5. A Big Mac's like $7. So the consumer's cracking out there, which means they're staying home more because it's just too expensive to eat out. And this is your lower income consumers, which are typically the ones that are hitting there. So because of that, I don't really love McDonald's. I don't really love, Starbucks either, Cava, Chipotle. I don't really love those because of, and I don't want to get political, but this inflation thing and the Fed rates are not helping, people out there. Inflation is out of control, and you're seeing it everywhere. You're seeing it at the gas pump, but you're seeing it in food. I mean, your grocery bills now are like double what they used to be. And I think that's what is going to make Costco even better of a stock. Not that it wasn't a good stock to begin with. I mean, it's gone from 500 back here in October up to 750. Okay. And now just bouncing around here, came back, not quite to the 21, but this thing looks pretty good. I like Costco. We've had 2 winners in active trader already on Costco. I think it's time potentially. It took off again today. I really want to get another trade on, but I think you could possibly get another trade on Costco in here before earnings. I'd like to see us pull back to the 21, but you only get these opportunities so many times. And this little box down here, this was the put credit spread that we had on Costco back in here. You can see that was a pretty safe trade. That was a winner that came off and didn't take very long for Costco to come off. All right. So you've got a handful of trades that we put on. I'm going to go one more. If you guys want a stock, we'll pick one. I'm going to go with one of my all-time favorites. This is one where I used to use the free leap spread on, and I think it's getting ready to set up for that again. All right, and had a trading meeting yesterday with my regular folks on Sunday, and I know Jim, Mr. Vegas, the guy in our Discord who's doing all the automated 0 DTE. He just bought some gold at Costco as well, so he bought a couple of coins of gold at Costco this week. So yeah, Costco is the second largest seller of gold in the world, next to or buyer of gold next to China right now. So I think that's also pretty interesting for. But anyway, MicroStrategy is one of my favorite Bitcoin type of plays. You've got a nice pullback to the 21, nice hammer candle here, reversal. Now it's only one day into this week, but last week was a really good hammer candle that you got here. Not quite, or a bit of a, not quite the dragonfly doji, but almost, between those two, a hammer or a dragonfly doji, a good reversal candle here. And now you've got MACD potentially, slowing down. Even though squeeze and MACD have been falling, the RSI is just hanging in there. Okay, let's see if we can get a 50 line in here. I can't get it nailed exactly. So here's the 50. Okay, just basic technical now, nothing crazy here on these. But coming down to the 50, maybe bouncing off. But over here on the daily, nice improvement on the MACD, the squeeze. I like MicroStrategy here, potentially selling naked puts, put credit spread. Anything on here I think looks decent right now on MicroStrategy. It's a big boy trade. Okay, this is a huge, 1,200, 1,300 stock, and this thing can move 100 points or 200 or 400 points in a day. So I think you just got to, pay some attention to it. But I think it's setting up nicely for Leap on there. And then Coin was one of the other ones that we had in the active trader service that I had running, and I think I'm out of that as well too. So I'm out of this trade, but you're right back to the downtrend line again. Okay, we bounced off of this support. Okay, so now today we're getting a bullish PSAR signal. You're breaking back above the 21. The 21's still above the 50, which is above the 200. MACD's rising, RSI is rising, squeeze is rising. I'm still very bullish on Coin. And there's a lot of opportunities, potential in here for trades. And we just closed a Coin trade the other day in Active Trader. I have not lost a trade in that service this year yet. Let's take a look at the last two trades that I have on, and then we'll get off. All right, so Boeing, this is also a trade that we have not only in here, we have a leap on Boeing in this service, but in Active Trader, I also have a butterfly trade on Boeing centered at about 185. So this thing is moving nicely higher, a little more gap today, getting close. This 185 is going to be right between the 50 and the 3 ATR. I'm hoping that's exactly where Boeing will stop. This trade is up 38% now in 4 days. So we've got a good trade going on Boeing. I love where Boeing is there. I think this is a great opportunity. I'm not pushing stocks necessarily. It's a great opportunity to put on some trades in Boeing down here. Hopefully we're done with things falling off of planes for a while. And then we talked about financials earlier. And Goldman Sachs is another play in the active trader service that I have on. This is another butterfly trade. We centered this at 445 7 days ago, and we're at 443. So we are almost right in the center of our butterfly. Here we are up 67% in 7 days on this particular trade. So a nice trade here. Now we're hitting the 3 ATR. But again, Goldman Sachs really leading the way. We can move this higher. So new all-time highs, breaking through this ascending triangle here. As soon as we got this little pullback here, we got long on this trade. So we're in Goldman Sachs. And then the last trade we have in the active trader service is Palo Alto. So you got a gigantic gap up here. Who knows on this thing if it's getting filled anytime soon. Okay, but we got a big gap up here that I'll extend it even a little bit more. Okay, so big gap up ahead. And then you had an ascending triangle here that took a while for us to really break through it. Okay, but we finally did. So we got into this trade. Back in here, you saw some nice improvement on squeeze. So the momentum on the squeeze has just been back and forth. RSI has been moving higher. MACD is just inching higher. But the weekly has had a nice look on the RSI. And so we've been moving nicely higher on the weekly. So I like the momentum in this trade. We put on a put credit spread on this particular trade. And I'll just give you a sense where this is. This is the 255. We are way down here. So this is essentially where this put credit spread is for this, and we're moving higher. This is now up 37% in 7 days. So right now, all three current trades in the active trader service are looking good. So there's a lot of stuff to look for out here. I've got plenty of buying power in my trading accounts a little bit right now. I'm trying to be a little careful because I'm going on vacation and I don't want to really watch it, but there's a lot of good opportunities out there. So again, recapping ES, strangle opportunity, 112 opportunities in ES. Oil, I think you've got 112 potential opportunities down in here. Naked puts, because I think we're going to hold. There's plenty of places for this thing to find some support. So I think we can sell some naked puts down here. I'd like to see make one more day of some improvement here on oil, but it's not the worst trade in the world, but it's not ready for strangle yet. On bonds, breaking out of this volatility box on bonds, but I do like strangles in here. I like naked puts in here. I like 112 trades in here. I really like bonds, probably one of my favorites. Gold, I think 112 trades in here, especially if we can break out of this box. And I think naked puts make sense in here after this decent pullback. Still very bullish gold long-term for this year. I think gold continues to be an opportunity for everybody to get in. So I just wanted to recap a couple of those. And then I'm probably looking for a strangle in the euro today. So this will probably be one of my trades that I'm going to pop on today, is a strangle in the euro. All right, so I hope this helps. Gives you a little bit of a quick market rundown. 50 minutes in, we looked at futures, we looked at stocks, we looked at the overall markets. Right now, things look pretty decent. I don't think things look, it's not out of control to the upside. Okay, we could still pull back. We could go higher. Okay. And I think you just got to trade what you see, trade what's in front of you, not what you think. And I just think, that by looking at these charts, I mean, I think you've got lots of really, really good setups, and we should be hitting new all-time highs in the account today. So hopefully on that news, hopefully this was helpful to you guys. A little bit of Monday morning charts. We're going to try to do this every Monday. It won't be next week because I'll be in Tahoe, but the week after that when I come back, we're going to try to do this every single Monday and just identify potential plays for the week, not just in Income Navigator and on some of the futures, but we'll be looking at some of the stocks as well there. All right, so I hope this was helpful to you guys. We'll see you in Discord. Take care, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you there. Bye-bye.